Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Chiranjit Mishra and today I'm going to present the news today news items for June 12th. There are 5 main news, 8 quick updates and 1 personality in the news, and the personality in the news today is Prasad Bismil. Okay. So let's quickly go through the headlines. The first main news is about the Supreme Court's strict suggestion or advice with regard to a particular law which has not been enforced very strictly, that is Preconception Prenatal Diagnostic Techniques Act 1994, because of which India is experiencing a skewed female sex ratio. Next is road accidents, and road accidents are actually a huge menace because on a daily basis in India at least 480 people die, and if you count the toll it rises to 1.75 lakh per year. The second is about Human Rights Alliance, which has been launched by the United Nations, Global Human Rights Alliance. Next is Assam-Nagaland Oil Exploration Memorandum of Understanding. So it's a tripartite agreement between the government of Assam, government of Nagaland, and government of India, the central government. The last main news is about certain trademarks have been secured by Sri Jagannath temple. Okay, it has a management committee or an administrative committee, which is actually a statutory body. We'll get to know what all trademarks have been secured. Now, quick updates. Homemakers are recognized as nation builders by the Supreme Court. So if a woman, a homemaker or a housewife dies, so the compensation amount has been set as rupees 30,000 per month. So that will be the unit, and the entire calculation has to be made taking into consideration rupees 30,000 per month as the unit. Okay. Next is Sri Lanka in Global Peace Index. Okay, and Sri Lanka has secured rank 67 and is at number 2. India, unfortunately, India's rank is beyond 100. It's 127. Okay. Next is BIS norms for indigenous seats. A question came this year in UPSC prelims. You have to remember or memorize that BIS code, which is given to a particular set of regulations or rules. Next is quantum AI labs have been set up in MNIT, Malviya National Institute of Technology, Jaipur. Next is NPPA raises cancer drug prices. Okay, 2 cancer drug prices, the prices of 2 drugs have to be raised because of a particular raw material involvement, that is platinum, and on the basis of that the drug prices had to rise. Then World Bank has raised India's outlook, GDP growth, real GDP growth, it has been revised in the upward direction, which is currently 6.6% real GDP growth. Okay. Then United Nations has warned on hate speech. We'll also get to know there is a new protocol or law which has been put in place. Last is AFSPA, okay, the military law which is sometimes enforced in certain states to stop or prevent violence and disturbances. It is going to be withdrawn. This is as per the Union Home Minister, because the security situation has improved in the Northeast Indian region. Okay. Now let's go through the first main news. Let's start with the first main news, which is Jagannath Temple secures trademarks. Sorry, the page is hanging a little bit. So Sri Jagannath Temple Puri, which is one of the 4 dhams. Okay, and it's a very old temple, and it was constructed or built in 11th to 12th centuries. Okay, sometimes the entire temple, the construction of the same is ascribed to one ruler of Eastern Ganga dynasty, but 2 rulers were involved. Okay, Eastern Ganga dynasty. Okay, so what happened? Why it is in the news? Although it was in the news a couple of years ago with regard to Ratna Bhandar, the jewelries that belong to the Holy Triad. So as you know, in Jagannath Puri 3 deities are worshipped. It's called the Holy Trinity. Jagannath culture or cult began as a tribal cult, but gradually it became a part of the Hindu pantheon. Okay, so Sri Jagannath, Lord Jagannath is believed to be an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, Lord Jagannath. Okay, then Lord Balram, here we worship him as Lord Balbhadra, same as Lord Balram. and then goddess Subhadra, their sister. Okay, Subhadra, of course, was the sister of Lord Krishna. So sometimes the two names are used interchangeably, Lord Jagannath and Lord Krishna. Okay, both are incarnations of Lord Vishnu. So the temple was constructed in 11th to 12th century AD under the rulers of Eastern Ganga. It was constructed the construction started under the reign of Sri Ananta Choda Ganga Dev. Ganga Dev because he belonged to the Ganga dynasty. It started and it was completed in the reign of Ananga Bhima, not Anant, Anang Bhim Dev. Okay, so two rulers are ascribed. I mean, the construction is ascribed to two rulers. It started in the reign of Ananta Chodaganga Dev and was completed in the reign of Ananga Bhima Dev. So let's quickly go through what all trademarks the temple has registered. As per the temple management committee, there are certain names and features or logos which cannot be copied by any other organization, individual, or body. That means trademark has been registered in India. Okay, so it has become the first Indian shrine to secure trademarks. Okay, what are the names that have been trademarked? The two names are Patita Paban and Anand Bazaar. Anand Bazaar is nothing but Anand Bazaar or Bazaar. That means a food market inside the temple, okay, where different types of food items are available. Okay, and Patita Paban means savior of the fallen. Patit means Girna and Paban means holy, savior of the fallen. These two names are used in the context of the temple and they have been trademarked. Nobody can use it or misuse it commercially. Then another logo has been protected, that is the Neel Chakra. So this is the temple, as you know, Jagannath Mandir. In Jagannath Mandir, Kalinga architecture or Kalinga style architecture was used, which is a subtype of Nagara architecture. And Nagara and subtype is Kalinga architecture. So on the temple top, like this is a temple, as you know, the curvilinear shikhar. Here is a chakra. The chakra, if I just enlarge it, it will be like this. Okay, and there's like this. It is a diameter of nearly 11. The height is nearly 11 feet. Okay, and this Neel Chakra logo has also been. I am also not supposed to draw it. This is a rough diagram. Okay, with due respect to the logo. So you can just view the various images of the temple. You'll get to know how Neel Chakra looks. So Neel Chakra or Nila Chakra has also been protected as a logo mark, and two words have been protected. Okay. About the temple, it is located in Puri, Odisha, popularly called White Pagoda. This is an old name. Earlier, when sailors used to take the sea route, before reaching the Odisha or the Puri coast, they could see the temple and it appeared white in color because of the light colored stones used. Light colored, some metamorphic rock called charnokite and other types of rocks have been used. And that light, because of that light coloredness, it was called White Pagoda. Now it is not possible to view. There are so many buildings, okay. I mean, from the same distance you cannot see it. If you move towards Puri from Bhubaneswar, you will see the temple before 4 kilometers. But if you are taking the sea route and you are in the sea, you're seafaring, you won't be able to see the temple directly now. It is dedicated to Lord Jagannath. It protects distinctive words and symbols. We're talking about the Trademarks Act and the trademarks rules here. So there is a trademark registry. That means this body is going to grant protection to certain terms, terminologies, logos, pictures, images. Okay, these things cannot be copied. You must have seen TM, trademark registered, okay, on top of various logos. So trademark has been registered, and this falls under Ministry of Commerce. Okay, Ministry of Commerce, not Ministry of Culture. So there are two aspects, as I mentioned in the beginning. The part one aspect is art and culture, second one is economics or intellectual property rights. So that comes under both economics and science and technology sometimes, because patents, trademarks, copyrights, okay. And this is going to be valid for 10 years, it can be renewed later. Because many people, when you go to a particular place like Puri, many sellers or vendors, they may be misusing the names of many entities associated with Jagannath temple. Now that's it. Second main news is about crude oil and natural gas in India. Of course, it's indirectly related to what is going on in the Strait of Hormuz. Still, it's unclear, uncertain. And as you know, India imports 80% of its 80 to 85% of its crude oil requirements, and of that 50% passes through close to 50 Strait of Hormuz. That means India domestically produces nearly 15 to 20% crude oil. Is this a good number? Not a good number. That means our crude oil requirements is totally import dependent. So we need to be self-sufficient. So that is why we need to explore and extract more crude oil domestically. And also natural gas. India imports 50% of its natural gas requirements, which is a relatively good figure or better figure as compared to 15 and 20% which is produced domestically. That means India is more self-sufficient in natural gas than crude oil. Okay, I hope you understood. So now there is a tripartite agreement between the central government, government of Nagaland and Assam. Together they are going to put their heads together and initiate before that, exploration of new oil fields in these two states. So Assam has the oldest oil field in India, which is called Digboi. Okay, already it's there. But because of the sedimentary origin of the rocks in Assam and Nagaland and also Naharkantia, okay, these are established and well-known oil fields in Assam. But now after this agreement or MOU, which is called Memorandum of Understanding, it is going to further boost the exploration process. And once geologists have explored thoroughly, they will just look for the profitability of the project also. If it's profitable, they'll carry out extraction. Okay, but before that, there needs to be some kind of samjhauta or agreement between the states or the parties involved. So crude oil in India, the reserves sometimes varies. Okay, sometimes there is a rough reserve or estimate which runs into billions, but proven reserves or estimated reserves is close to 672 million tons. 1 ton is equal to 1000 kilograms. Western offshore holds largest share. So as you see, this is the coastline of India. Okay, here is Maharashtra. Most of the oil fields are here, offshore. That means not in the mainland. Okay, so just the continental part of the Arabian Sea. Many sedimentary rocks are there. Okay, so sediments are there, and beneath the sediments lies oil fields. But if you ask about Indian states, there are 3 large producers. One is your Assam region, this part, okay, northeast. Then is your this Gujarat and Maharashtra. These are major oil producers. In Rajasthan, we got to know about presence of oil fields very late, which was due to some research carried out by a company called Cairn India. Okay, and the region that they focused upon was Badmer in Rajasthan. Now it is one of the largest oil producing states in India, Rajasthan. So the discovery happened very late. But in the case of Assam, Digboi is the oldest oil field, and Assam was known to hold a lot of oil during the British times also. So Assam holds 21.5% reserves. If somebody asks which state has the highest reserve, then it's Assam. Which region? Then it's Bombay offshore or Western offshore. Oldest oil field is Digboi, and India's oldest oil field, not world's oldest oil field. Okay, India's oil sector status, let's take a look at that. India is the 3rd largest oil consumer. So there is no doubt in taking a guess at we should be the top 2. At the top is China, and then followed by US. Okay, India is the 3rd largest oil consumer. We're talking about crude oil here and products derived from crude oil, not edible oil. World's 4th largest oil refiner and world's 3rd largest oil importer. That means we consume a lot of oil, and whatever we consume of that, mostly it is imported. Natural gas in India, if you take a look at that, it's slightly better as I said. Domestic production supplies 51.4%. This can be a starting line for any mains exam answer. Ki critically examine the oil and crude oil and gas resources of India. So you can say as compared to crude oil, the status of gas is slightly better because natural gas means methane. Natural gas means methane and 51.4% is domestically supplied. For the rest, we depend upon countries like, Qatar and UAE and all that. Gross production reached 36.11 BCM, billion cubic meters. 1 cubic meter means 1 meter cube. That means it's equal to 1 meter is equal to 100. So 10 to the power 6 centimeter cube. It's like close to, so 1000 centimeter cube is equal to your 1 liter. That means 1000 liter. You add 10 to the power 3 more. Assam has the highest proven reserves of natural gas. That's it. We are not talking about the supply chain disruption that is happening. We are talking about India's domestic capability. Okay, that is why I'm not focusing on which are the countries from which India imports oil and gas. That we have already covered. Qatar is the largest oil producer, gas supplier to India. And oil, so far it was Russia 2-3 years ago. Now it's UAE, Saudi Arabia, and these countries. Iraq is also one of the major suppliers. Now, third main news, Global Alliance for Human Rights or GAHR, which is part of GS paper 2 and it can also be part of GS paper 4, ethics integrity. Maybe a question can be asked in the theory part, human rights. Otherwise, mostly closely related to fundamental rights. So fundamental rights, as you know, they're mentioned in the Indian Constitution and they're mentioned in the constitutions of different countries. The fundamental laws, what they provide or expect the state to, as to how to treat their citizens. But human rights are those rights which every human being is entitled to by virtue of being a human being. Okay? So human right means because I'm a human being, I have these basic rights, nobody can take away these rights from me. Okay? For example, right to life. Right to freedom of expression. That is how a human being is differentiated from an animal. If you don't have right to expression, then you are as good as a vegetable or an animal. Okay, so these are, then right to procreate also. Somebody can say it's a part of right to life. That means to produce children and procreation. Okay. So these are those essential rights which are available for all human beings. Now, right to spread religion and propagate religion, these come later. First, you need to be treated like a human being, and of course, right to equality, the most important thing, right to equality. Every human being should be treated as his or her fellow beings. Okay, but conditions apply. Okay, in India. So the recent context is launch. It was launched by United Nations Human Rights Office long-term initiative till 2028. Okay, so now we have understood the difference between fundamental rights and human rights. Okay, so because the United Nations feels that across the globe, in many parts of the country, human rights are suppressed, or many people experience prevention in discharging the responsibility as a normal human being, or the rights and obligations that they are entitled to are violated. So that is why the United Nations feels that we need to promote it more, and we need to make different types of human rights available and accessible. And for that, what are the steps taken so far? First, let's start with Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was soon after the World War, after the horrific incidences associated with World War II. United Nations felt, it was a very new or nascent organization that time, that we need to have a list of human rights, okay, and they have to be strictly and strongly protected. So that is called Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Landmark Global Human Rights Declaration defines fundamental rights and freedoms. So fundamental rights are very closely related to human rights. Okay, as I said in the beginning, the right to equality. In India, you cannot have right to equality in India in the complete sense, because there are many downtrodden people, underprivileged people who cannot be treated equally. because they're already lagging behind. That means the government always, or the state, wants to bring them forward. Okay. So 3 guiding principles: imagine a better future, because only when you imagine, only when you envisage something, you can try and put in effort for the achievement of the same. Dialogue through inclusive discussions. That means all groups of people, all categories, women, okay, even the third gender, elderly, okay, whatever classifications are there. Act by implementing commitments. There should not be just meetings and online meetings or offline meetings and seminars. We need to have a proper action plan, and we need to calculate our achievement in terms of how much we have acted upon the theoretical part. 4 pathways: human rights at home, which is because this everything begins at home. That is the fundamental unit in any society, home. Human rights in action, as I said, close related to this. Human rights in mind, that means understanding of human rights, awareness of human rights, and then human rights for the future. I hope you're able to see. Let me just move up the slide. 4 pathways adopted: human rights at home, in action, in mind, and for the future. That means for the future, just look at the emerging technologies or cutting edge technologies. Are they entailing human rights? Because every development in the world should have one entity at the center. It should be centered around the dignity and welfare of human beings. Okay. And now we have made it very obvious that it should be sustainable. That means nature also, sustainable development. Okay. So that's it. That means promotion of human rights and making human beings aware of their own rights and obligations. And this is because the Universal Declaration of Human Rights will turn complete 80 years in 2028. So the target year is 2028. Now coming to the next main news, which is Supreme Court on imbalance in sex ratio. Okay, so both are closely related, and these are issues related to social justice. So GS paper 2 again. So skewed sex ratio, again the new census is going to take place, and we're going to have new census report the next year because data is being collected now. And if you look at the last 3 decades, it has been gradually declining. As per the last census 2011, it's less than 920 per 1000 male. Okay, and now also this discrimination against women, female feticide, it's in vogue. It's still being practiced, and that is why the Supreme Court has made it very clear that we need to be very strict when it comes to implementing rules and regulations related to preventing feticide. And the primary act that should come to everyone's mind is PNDT Act of 1994, which I said in the beginning is Preconception Prenatal Diagnostic Techniques Act 1994. That means you cannot make sex selective abortion. Abortion, that means ending or terminating pregnancy. That can only happen if there is a medical requirement. And that should not be done just because people want to get rid of female children. Okay. And UPSC has also asked this question, different types of question based on skewed sex ratio. First, let's focus on this part, then we'll discuss the 2 questions briefly. Supreme Court seeks strict PNDT implementation as sex selection practices continue. Now see, the act came into being in 1994. It was enforced in 1996. How many years have passed? 30 years. Still, we as a country haven't changed. Okay. Enacted to curb sex selection, passed in 1994, enforced in 1996. Addresses declining child sex ratio. Child sex ratio means how you define child, and overall sex ratio means it includes children and also adults. Restricts misuse of prenatal diagnostics. Reasons for inverted sex ratio: patriarchal society, and it manifests through many ways. patrilineality, that means one is known through his paternal ancestors, and then patrilocality. After marriage, women move to the houses of their husbands. Marriage customs, of course, dowry. Nobody, because dowry is always a headache, a burden for everyone. We also have Dowry Prevention Act, okay, but it's still a prevalent custom. Sometimes people flaunt how much they give in the form of wealth to their daughters at the time of marriage. So many people are encouraging also. Systemic gender inequality, systemic, it's not system, it's systemic. In workplaces, not just in homes or houses, outside houses. Global Gender Gap Report 2025 said India's rank has slipped to 131st among 148 countries. Can you see? This is not a good sign, a good indicator. Okay, 945 girls were there for 1,000 boys, in 1991. Now see how the figure is continuously dipping. 927, it got reduced by 18, then again 919 as per the last census. So let's wait and watch how this figure is going to fare in the upcoming census report. No doubt the government of India has taken many steps, but enforcement is still lacking at in certain regions or at certain places. Initiatives taken so far: Beti Bachao, Beti Badhao, Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana. Okay, this is a tri-ministry program. It has been modified. Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, that means bank account for daughters, and Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana, it's maternity care. Okay, so these steps have been taken. Mission Shakti also you can mention, and other state government related measures that have been taken by various state government, that also you can mention, but always mention the name of the state. So Mission Shakti here I think refers to Odisha government. And what are the other political initiatives? You can talk about the Constitutional Amendment Act, okay, reservation in legislative assemblies and parliament. And what else? Of course, in the employment sector, now permanent commission is also granted to women in the Indian Army. So two questions came, one in 2014 and the other in 2015. Why do some of the most prosperous regions of India have an adverse sex ratio for women? Give your arguments. So prosperous means what? Economically sound. So basically it's the Punjab and Haryana region. What are the various points that come to your mind? One is because they have a strong agricultural base, okay, and agriculture has been traditionally treated as a male-centric job or sector. And then the strong belief that land division should not take place, because if a daughter is given away in the form of marriage, a piece of land or in the form of Stridhan goes away, so the family loses land. Okay, so that is also another reason. So there are several reasons, you can point them out. Give your arguments. That means you're not going to contradict it. How do you explain the statistics that show that sex ratio in tribes in India is more favorable to women than the sex ratio among scheduled caste? This is a question which is very much appropriate from the point of view of UPSC optional also, anthropology and sociology. Because as you see, tribal society is more egalitarian as compared to the, what do you say, the religion-based or Hindu religion-based society, because they have their anti-dowry system also. They also get bride price, which is something contradictory to dowry in nature. That means when you marry your daughters off, you get money. Although it sounds slightly odd and very unpleasant to hear, but that means you're not going to, the belief that you lose money if you marry your daughters off is not prevalent in tribal societies. And many societies or many tribal societies are also matrilineal and matrilocal. Okay. So this is a good point, and these two are very good themes from the point of view of not just mains, they're asked in the mains exam, but also from the optional subjects point of view. Traditional questions. Last main news is road safety in India. As I said in the beginning, every day in India, 485 people die due to road accidents per day. That means 20 people, some 20 people die per hour. Can you imagine? That means in 1 year, you can say 485 into 365. Okay, roughly I would say it's close to 1.6 lakh. Okay, 1.6 lakh or 1.55 something. So that's a huge number, and it's comparable. In one of the earlier reports also this figure was cited, and it is quite comparable to the death toll during the COVID times, especially COVID-1. COVID-1 death toll was very less. In COVID-2, the second wave, death toll was very high. So still it's comparable, can you imagine? But we never consider this. Why? Because the reports are scattered. Only few accident cases, they appear in the news headlines, only if the accident is big enough, okay? Or the death toll is very high, or the city involved is one of the metropolitan cities. Otherwise, this figure is very high and disappointing also. So that speaks volumes about India's road safety. Are India's roads safe? Okay. So let's take a look at the various data and figures and what more can be done. Of course, the report has been released by Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. And every year, I mean 2023, 4.81 lakh accidents were recorded. 4.81 lakh accidents, not necessarily those accidents in which people died or there was certain, there were casualties. 1.73 people died in out of these 4.81 accidents. Okay, the most important reason behind road accidents is overspeeding. Okay, sometimes you must have seen signs that speed thrills but kills. Okay, so accounts for 68.4% of the accidents, responsible for human and safety violations, 68.1 fatalities. Wrong side driving causes also accidents. Sometimes wrong side driving accidents take place while often in highways it's not allowed. It's easy to spot. But sometimes in small lanes, the accidents are not of very severe nature, because in small gullies or lanes you drive at a very slow speed. But still people are affected. Drunken driving remains major risk, even if the speed is not high, but you are not able to hold the steering wheel properly. And other areas are, or other reasons are, seat belt, okay, wearing helmet. So these are the additional causes. So you need to remember the figures. They're very concerning figures, and you can use them in your mains answer also. What are the government initiatives taken? Mandatory airbags in vehicles. Especially after the death of the previous CEO of Tata Groups, government also made it, Delhi government I think made it mandatory for the passengers sitting in the back seat to wear seat belts. Earlier it was only for, not mandatory for the back seat passengers. Seat belts for the back seat passengers. Emergency care and compensation, cashless treatment scheme launched. Up to 1.5 lakh treatment support. Okay. Then Good Samaritan protection. There is a law that whenever you see, if somebody helps a dying individual because of the road accident, and he or she takes care of that individual and brings him to the hospital, such people will be rewarded and not hassled. But many people refrain from helping others when they see that somebody is about to die, or maybe is in a stable condition, or can be brought back to stable condition if taken to a hospital. But people refrain from helping, such people, because they have this fear that the procedure is long and it's very tortuous, and they can suffer, they lose their precious time. So that is why the government promoted this rule of Good Samaritan. Good Samaritan is a biblical concept. That means be a good human being and help your fellow human beings when they're in distress. So way forward, what else can be done? There is a 4E strategy which is called multi-pronged strategy: education, engineering, enforcement and emergency. Basically awareness and emergency mean healthcare support. Healthcare support means it comes at the end. So that is not a viable idea. We can prevent accidents. It's not that those who have suffered from accidents, we need to open more hospitals. So this is like nipping it in the bud. Expand driver training centers. Yes, one important issue I forgot to mention, DL issue, driving license. Now people can pay bribes and get driving license. And sometimes those having learner's license, they misuse it. Okay. So these are the various reasons and way forward. Automated testing centers. And of course, if somebody fails in getting a driving license, he or she can be trained properly. We need to have adequate training centers also. So the personality in the news today, as I mentioned in the beginning, is Prasad Bismil. Okay, he was a freedom fighter, a courageous nationalist, and his name often appears in the Kakori conspiracy case. And he was one of the founding members of the HRA, Hindustan Republican Association. Yes, along with Sachin Sanyal, Jogesh Chatterjee, and Ashfaqullah. Okay, so Kakori action he was involved, and he attained martyrdom because he was caught along with Ashfaqullah, and he was born in 1897, and at the age of 30 he passed away in Gorakhpur jail. Okay, and there is another conspiracy which of course he was a part of. It was Manpur conspiracy, not a lesser known conspiracy, not very high, I mean not very well known when it comes to modern Indian history, just like Lahore, Kakori or Meerut. Okay, so Mainpuri conspiracy, if a question comes, so one of the associates or involved persons was Sri Ram Prasad Bismil. Okay, and just yesterday his Honorable Home Minister paid tribute on his birthday anniversary. Now let's go through the quick updates. Homemakers are nation builders. This is the statement of the Supreme Court. A case was going on in which a woman passed away because of road accident again, and her family was supposed to get compensation. So how that compensation has to be calculated? Because she was not a service holder, she was not working, she got no salary. And now this is also part of care economy. Women contribute to the economy of this country in the shape of care economy, which is a very high value and which is very essential, because without women, without homemakers, the other working individuals will also not be able to give their best. Who is going to take care of the kitchen, the food, the children, and the elderly? Of course, behind all these people are the nation builders or women. Okay, but the Supreme Court said although they don't get salaries, but still a compensation can be calculated, assuming that all the services that they provide or they do for the family out of love, it comes to, although it's invaluable, but for legal purposes it's rupees 30,000 per month. Okay, that means this much amount is to be paid by the insurance company. Whoever is at fault, if he or she doesn't have any insurance, third party insurance, then it will be paid out of pocket. It's not a one time payment like 30,000. So what agar somebody dies, it will be calculated how much amount is due. Suppose the age of the woman is 48 years, and let's say she would have worked for the next 12 years. So 12 years, and each year has 12 months, into 12 into 30. So you can calculate it. How much hoga? 144 and into 3. So it's 432. Okay, 1,000. So you can calculate the amount. It's close to 43,23,000 rupees. This much. Okay, maybe there are other terms and conditions, but this is the base amount that the Supreme Court is going to use. Unpaid domestic work must receive legal recognition. This is the most important line. Unpaid domestic work. Just because it cannot be calculated, that doesn't make it less significant. Loss of homemaker services is a separate compensation head. The court fixed this amount. Judgment was delivered in a motor accident compensation case. See, the accident took place in 2001, and now the family is going to get a compensation, and it's close to some 60 lakhs, I guess. Okay, because interest is also going to be involved. Seen as a major step towards gender sensitive justice. It can be cited as one of the points. Ki gender sensitive justice in India, comment or argue or counter argue. You can cite this as a point. The Global Peace Index has been released by Institute of Economics and Peace. Okay, it's a global institute, and as per this index, rank 1 is held by Iceland. And in India, Bhutan is the most, in South Asia, Bhutan is the most peaceful country. Its rank is 16. The second most peaceful country in South Asia is Sri Lanka. Where is it? Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention it. Sri Lanka, yes, Sri Lanka. Rank 67. And if you look at India's rank, it's 127. And USA is at 134. I hope you understand why, because of the war. And I think none of the military powers, they're in top 10 or top 20. Even France, Britain, among the European countries, they're also towards the end. So Iceland, and then it is followed by, I guess, New Zealand rank 2 and Switzerland rank 3. All the three lands, Iceland, rank 2 is New Zealand, NZL, and third is Switzerland. Okay. It's released by Institute for Peace and Economics. Economics and Peace, IEP. And as per this index or report, any index is always contained in a report. And as per this report, global peace has degraded for the 12th consecutive year, because more and more wars are taking place across different parts of the globe. And peace is not just calculated on the basis of the war. It is also calculated upon changing in posture. Even if you're threatening a country, that also amounts to disturbance. So not just physical conflict. This theme is very important. Had you asked me 2 years ago, I would have said simply skip it. IS 20201 colon 2026. This is a standard released by Bureau of Indian Standards, and it is related to rules and regulations on how to protect indigenous varieties, crop varieties. Okay, because they face different types of challenges, starting from foreign crops. We don't allow genetically modified crops. Okay, but sometimes because of export and import, genetically modified things get inserted into the agricultural landscape of a country. And also, while going for other varieties, we ignore our own indigenous breeds or varieties. Here we are talking about crops. Okay, for that a standard has been set, which is called 20,201.2026. And this year a question was asked by UPSC regarding such a number. So you need to remember that. Okay, we'll see that in the next page. But as regards this piece of news, how it's going to develop, because protecting indigenous breeds or varieties is very important, and especially crops, which play a very crucial role in any country's food security. Okay, it aligns with SDG 2, because SDG 1 is about poverty and 2 is about zero hunger. That means food security. So this question asked in prelims 2026, just 15 days ago. The Bureau of Indian Standards recently introduced a national standard to test and assess bomb disposal system. Which of the following statements with regard to this system is or are correct? The new standard is known as IS. Who will remember? It's a very tough question. Try to memorize if it's possible. Otherwise you can skip it. But I would suggest memorize as much as possible. Okay, because every question or any question in UPSC prelims is not logic based. Not any and every question in UPSC prelims is logic based. Sometimes it's absolutely purely factual. So this statement was correct. It will improve interoperability of equipment across agencies. इसमें क्या ही होना चाहिए. In the third statement, the trap was there. DRDO, TBRL in collaboration with a Russian body. This is not correct. So 3 is not correct. Okay. And 2 is correct. So answer C हो गया आपका. ठीक है. Advanced quantum computing and semiverse. This has been announced by the Union Minister of Electronics and Information Technology, Shri Ashwini Vaishnav. And this lab is going to be set up in one of the NITs, which is called Malviya NIT or Malviya National Institute of Technology in Jaipur. This is going to boost the research in the field of quantum engineering or quantum physics, quantum mechanics, especially its application in quantum computing, not quantum mechanics, I'm sorry, quantum computing, application of the principles in quantum physics in computing. Okay, and also that is going to boost research in AI and data science. So this semiverse, as you see, it's not a generic term like multiverse. Semiverse is the name of a what you can say, a portal or a testing platform which has been created by this company called Lam Research. Using this portal or platform, students can do or conduct AI related research. Okay, that is called semiverse. Next, carboplatin and cisplatin, these are two cancer drugs. That means cancer curing drugs. Okay, and these two drugs, they require platinum. Platinum is not platinum, it's platinum. It's, as you know, it's a heavy metal, it's a noble metal. Sometimes it's used as a catalyst and sometimes it is used in ligands or some coordinated compounds. You must have studied that in chemistry. Okay, so they in a way bind those sites which act as trigger points and they cause the spreading of cancer cells. That is why platinum is used, and because the price of the platinum is increasing, drug companies wanted the prices of these two drugs to increase. Carboplatin and cisplatin, remember the names? They may ask, these drugs are used in relation to which of the following diseases? Tuberculosis, malaria, cancer. Cancer is the answer. Okay, and NPPA has approved it. It's the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority. Remember, it is not a statutory body. It was established through a government resolution in 1997, and it comes under Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. Okay. So, two important facts about NPPA and carboplatin and cisplatin. Just remember the names. C for cancer, C for carboplatin, and C for cisplatin. World Bank's projection of India's growth. This you can include in the mains answer. Despite the global turmoil, India is still looking very sound. India's economy is still looking very sound because of this strong domestic demand. Okay, and it has been projected. India has been projected to grow at 6.6% real GDP. This you can mention. And earlier also this month, RBI projected India's real growth rate to be 6.9%. You can memorize these two facts. Sometimes RBI's, World Banks and IMFs. But if you're not able to memorize all the points, just remember World Banks and RBI's. How to remember? Our domestic projection is slightly more generous. Okay, and others projections are slightly tight. That is why 6.6% in World Banks and RBI's projection is 6.9, and real GDP growth, not nominal. Okay, that means inflation is not taken into account. Volume of goods, how much more volume of goods we are going to produce this year. India remains among the fastest growing major economies, and this is mentioned in Global Economics Prospects Report, which is published by the World Bank. Last time it was published in January 2026. Second time in a year. I think it's a biannual report, not biennial, biannual. A report which is published twice a year. Biennial means which is published once in 2 years. 2 साल में एक बार, ये 1 साल में 2 बार. Okay, that's it. Muscal plan. Yes, this is the plan. Okay. Oh, sorry, it should be Muscat plan. Oman Muscat. Okay, that is a Muscal plan. What is it? It's called Muscat plan. The capital of Oman. Okay, one of the Middle Eastern countries. So hate speech is rapidly spreading, and the United Nations believes that we need to have a global framework so that it can be used as a benchmark, and according domestic laws can be framed or can be modified. We already have domestic laws. We have constitutional provisions also against hate speech. Okay, because we provide freedom of expression, but there are conditions apply. So because of the growing hate speech across the globe, Muscat plan has been adopted, and if this question is asked in next year's prelims, you can say it's related to preventing hate speech, and it's a UN initiative. It promotes media literacy and education. Okay, nothing else to know in this. Or you can also incorporate it in the steps taken at the global level to contain hate speech and other extremist activities, because hate speech often leads to disenchantment, okay, extremism and isolation of people, because people tend to get antisocial also when they are continuously blamed for a particular thing or their community, their caste. Okay, so that leads to social isolation, and also it triggers extremism. That is why it should be prevented. Last quick update is AFSPA. So AFSPA is Armed Forces Special Power Act 1958, under which military actions can be taken place or military forces can be put in different states which are experiencing violence. Now it is in force in 5 different regions. One is J&K, which is a UT now, Nagaland, okay, Arunachal, Assam and Manipur. But because the situation has improved as per the Union Home Minister, we're going to gradually remove or withdraw the forces. Okay, 4 northeastern states and J&K. So that's it. It has to be removed from most northeast areas by 2027. That's why I said gradually. This year is 2026, so maybe by the end of the next year. That's it from today's news today. Now please, 6 questions will flash on your screen. Do take them and try to make the most of Visualize Digital Current Affairs. Wish you all the very best.